What's going on, guys? T-Rec87 here with MG Knights. Today we're going to take a step back in time and revisit an older game that you may or may not have ever played and just take a chance to talk about it. Let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about a Genesis classic, Shining Force: The Legacy of Great Intention. The story of Shining Force isn't really obviously, back in the Genesis and SNES days, the stories weren't super rich or, super fleshed out or anything like that. But basically, it does have a good little story. And as you see here, the main antagonist of the game, well, there's a couple of them really, but Dark Dragon is the main antagonist of the game, and basically he brings evil to the land and destruction, this and that, and he got sealed away by the powers of light. And the whole reason this game comes about is that your kingdom, Gardania, gets attacked by Runefaust, which is a neighboring kingdom. They're all attacked by this guy named Cain, and his whole mission is to bring back Dark Dragon, and he wants to bring about the destruction of the land of Rune, which is the entire continent. And basically everybody has to come together, the Shining Force gets formed, and you all have to fight back and basically find this magical sword called the Chaos Breaker to seal him away. Now, I will say this, if you guys ever, I don't know if you guys ever played this or not, but there also is a Game Boy Advance re-release of this game called Shining Force: Return of the Dark Dragon or something like that. And it's basically more or less the same exact game, and it's actually really good. I like it a lot. I think it's maybe a little bit better than the Genesis Classic, just mainly for the fact that it's a little bit more current with the times. The story is a little contradictory in the Game Boy Advance remake, but we actually come to find out that Cain is actually Max's brother, and I can't actually remember if you find that out in the actual game in the Genesis original or not. But it was a really great plot twist to find out, and there's a lot of cool moments like that in this game that makes it really worth playing through. The combat is a old school tactical RPG, which means you basically have set tiles, and the whole battle map is covered with tiles, and you can only move a certain amount of tiles per turn, and basically depending on what type of terrain you're on, depends on how far you can move, or your character's agility stat will also affect that. And so for its time, it was really, I feel, a pretty advanced game. It was a little bit of a precursor to say Final Fantasy Tactics. There were some other games out before it that kind of did use the same system, but this was the only one that I really got into that I thought, other than Final Fantasy Tactics, that used a system that I really liked. There's also a lot of really cool characters. There was mages, archers, gladiators, monks, there was healers, you get a werewolf guy at one point, and so there's all these really cool, different, varied characters that I liked a lot, and they all kind of had their own their own personalities. They weren't obviously super fleshed out, but they definitely all acted a certain way. Xylo was the wolf character, and he howled a lot, and I remember that very specifically because he was one of my favorite characters, mainly because he could move everywhere around the map once you got him leveled up. And speaking of leveling up, once your characters hit level 20, they would get promoted to what I like to think of, or what I like to call, is the hero class. And so your mages would become wizards, and your basic warrior Luke would become, a gladiator or a baron or whatever. And I believe in this game there was even a couple of items that actually let you change the class into a different class. And so instead of just becoming a regular wizard or something like that, you'd become something special. That part I'm a little fuzzy on. I didn't play through the entire game when I captured all this footage. Honestly, I just didn't have time, but I did want to share it with you guys. It's been a few years since I have played the game, and that might be something, as far as the items goes, might be in Shining Force 2, which I will be covering as well, because that one actually is even better than this one. And so you guys should definitely, when I do put that out, I really recommend looking into that one. And the combat is not entirely balanced, is my one criticism I would say of this game. That your healers always get crapped on. It's so hard for you to level up the healers because they really can't attack anything, and so they don't really get any experience from attacks, and if you put them on the front lines, they're just going to die anyway. And the only way they get experience really is like healing and casting magic and stuff like that, and especially early on in the game when they don't really have any magic points, it's really hard to level them up because you only get like 10 experience points at a time, and for every 100 experience you gain, your character levels up, and it depends on what type of enemy you're fighting for how much experience you're gonna get. So if the enemy has, is a higher level enemy, you're gonna get, like 50 experience, whereas if it's just like a little blob enemy, you're only gonna get like 10 or 5 experience, and so there is that. The game definitely makes you think about what your next move is going to be. If you happen to make a really bad mistake and say you put your hero character Max out in the middle of nowhere away from your party, and he's sort of close to the enemies will mob on him. They know he is the most important character of the game. Obviously he's the main character, but the unique thing here is that when Max dies, if he does die, the whole game is over. That fight is over, and you have to restart the fight because he's the party leader, and the Shining Force can't go on without a leader, basically, is kind of the gist of it. And so that really affects the flow of battle. The graphics hold up pretty well in this day and age, I feel. They're obviously, from a different time and a different era when things weren't 4K or 1080p and super detailed. You can tell it's all just pixels and sprites and stuff like that. But the game does definitely have its own unique charm. It really has like this just unique fantasy setting with lots of varied characters, and there's like elves and different different races and stuff like that. There's even like a hamster that you can get into your party. He's pretty useless though, so I don't recommend it if you do play this game. He's not great. But the big thing I will say is the graphics are great, but the archaic menu system is not great. It is definitely, I forgot how painful this system is. When you go up to, say, like a treasure chest you find in town, you don't simply click the action button to open it right up. You actually have to click into your menu and click search, and you have to be facing the right direction, and then you'll open the chest. And let's say you found like a brand new sword in that chest, and you're like, awesome, I want to have that sword, I'm going to equip it to my main character, he's going to have a stronger attack. That's great. Your characters can all only hold 4 items at a time. And Max, being the main character, if his item slots are full, which a lot of times you'll have like the medical herbs and healing seeds and stuff like that in his items, you can't pick up what's in the chest. Now, you don't lose the item, but you have to go into your menu, you have to transfer it over to another character, say like one of the medical herbs, and then research the chest again, and then you'll pick up the sword. And it's super time consuming and super archaic, and that is my one criticism of this game that I totally had forgotten about, that I hated, is that it's a pain in the ass to do anything in this game other than fight. So that, I would say, is my one negative, and so this game does require a certain amount of patience to play through, but it is definitely worth taking a look at, which, if you guys don't know, I mean, obviously this game is definitely available on Steam. This is where I got all my footage from, is there's a Genesis emulator on Steam. I bought the game for, I don't know, probably $5, $10, whatever. Obviously there are other more nefarious ways to get the game, but I do recommend that, you do pay for it, obviously, and, you help Sega out. Overall, though, this is one of my favorite games of all time. Even with the, the crap menu system, I think the unique combat, especially for its time, this is an early 90s game. I think it came out in North America in 1993. And so, I was like 6 when it came out, and I remember this game being super challenging for a 6-year-old. I could barely even play it. I didn't know what was going on at the time. And I'm really glad this is a game I've come back to over the years, and I keep revisiting just to give it another playthrough, because it definitely does involve some strategy and some forward thinking. And if you are into tactical RPGs, this is a great game for you, and maybe a great look into the past to see how games used to be a little bit more. So overall, by today's standards, some things do hold up very well. Just the RPG system itself is great, the customization is great, you can get different weapons and stuff like that. And the leveling up system's pretty good. But other things I've been railing on this for a minute now, but the menu system don't really hold up. I give this game a solid 7.5. I really hope you guys enjoyed this trip down memory lane. I know I have. If you liked the video, please remember to hit that like button. It helps me and TieFly85 out, lets us know like what you guys are liking and disliking as far as our content goes. And if you're new to the channel and if you haven't ever seen any of our content before, please remember to subscribe and hit that little bell icon. That way you'll get notified anytime we do put out new content. We do usually pretty much every day except Sundays are kind of our day off. So there's new content every day to come back and look forward to. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you again soon.